Most people think that seeing the world clearly would make them more anxious. Machiavelli knew the opposite is true. The person who sees clearly is not the person scanning every room for threats, cataloguing enemies, and treating every relationship as a potential betrayal. That is paranoia. That is a different thing entirely. And Machiavelli would have recognized it as just another form of blindness. The truly clear-eyed person is the calmest one in the room. Not because they are naive, because they are not confused. Confusion is exhausting. The person who cannot read what is actually happening around them is in a permanent state of low-grade alarm, unsettled by outcomes they did not predict, hurt by behaviors they did not see coming, frustrated by a world that keeps failing to work the way they were told it would. That frustration is not wisdom. It is the cost of operating on false assumptions about how people and systems actually function. Niccolo Machiavelli spent his career as a diplomat and civil servant in Florence, watching, with unusual precision, how power actually moved through human relationships. Not how it was supposed to move according to the laws and doctrines of the time, how it actually moved. And what he found was that the gap between the official account and the operational reality was vast, consistent, and almost never acknowledged publicly. People said one thing, they did another. Systems promised justice. They delivered leverage. And the individuals who understood this gap, who operated from an accurate picture of reality rather than a flattering one, had a decisive and permanent advantage over everyone who did not. In chapter 15 of The Prince, he wrote, how we live is so far removed from how we ought to live that he who abandons what is done for what ought to be done learns his ruin rather than his preservation. He is not celebrating this. He is describing it. And by the end of this, you will understand the 4 things that change when you finally see the world the way Machiavelli saw it. Not with suspicion, but with clarity. Not with cynicism, but with precision. And you will discover why the person who holds that clarity is not the most guarded person in the room. They are the most relaxed, because they are not playing a game they do not understand. They picked up their hand. Part 1. Reading the cards. Words are the cards people show you. Behavior is the hand they are actually holding. Every card game has 2 levels. The cards that are visible on the table and the cards in each player's hand. A beginner watches the table. A skilled player watches the hands. Machiavelli made this distinction with unusual directness. In The Prince, he observed that men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, because it belongs to everybody to see you, to few to come in touch with you. Most people operate on the visible level. They listen to what is said. They evaluate the presentation. They take the words at face value because the words are offered with apparent sincerity, and accepting them is socially easier than questioning them. But words are what people choose to show you. They are the visible cards. Behavior is what the hand is actually holding. This is not a cynical observation. It is a structural one. Words cost almost nothing to produce. A person can say they care about you in the same tone and with the same apparent feeling whether they actually care or not. They can promise to change with genuine emotion, having convinced themselves in that moment that they mean it, and then not change, not because they were lying when they said it, but because the feeling passed and the word outlasted the intention. Words and behavior operate on different timescales and with different levels of accountability. Words are immediate and cheap. Behavior is accumulated and expensive. The first shift in Machiavellian clarity is simply this. You stop treating words as primary evidence and start treating behavior as the only evidence that counts. Not because you become cynical about language, but because you develop an accurate hierarchy of information. When what someone says and what they do diverge, and they will regularly with everyone, you trust what they do, not angrily, not with a sense of betrayal, simply as a matter of reading the hand correctly. Watch what actually happens in any relationship over time. The person who says they will call and does not call. The person who promises to change a behavior and does not change it. The person who tells you that you are a priority and consistently treats you otherwise. None of these are necessarily evidence of malice. They are evidence of the actual hierarchy of that person's attention and commitments, which their words described incorrectly. The words were aspirational. The behavior was truthful. Once you start reading this way, confusion largely disappears. You are no longer wondering why someone who says they care keeps not acting like it. The pattern of behavior has answered that question. You are no longer hoping that this time the words will match reality. You are watching what actually happens and updating your understanding accordingly. This is not coldness, it is accuracy. Machiavelli's genius was that he applied this same standard to institutions, to political promises, to the stated intentions of princes and republics. He did not believe what governments said about themselves. He watched what they did, who they protected, who they abandoned, what they rewarded, what they punished. And from that pattern of behavior, he built an accurate picture of how power actually functioned, which was far more useful than the official account. Reading the cards correctly does not make you suspicious of everyone. It makes you appropriately calibrated. You trust what the evidence supports. You remain open to revision as new evidence accumulates. And you are genuinely not surprised when behavior confirms what behavior has consistently indicated, because you were watching the hand, not just the table. This calibration is also what protects you from the opposite error. The person who reads behavior accurately is not the person who becomes cold and detached from everyone, who treats all warmth as performance and all generosity as strategy. They are the person who can tell the difference between the two, who can receive genuine care clearly because they are not distorting it through either naive trust or defensive suspicion. Reading behavior well is what makes real trust possible, because you know, over time, exactly when you are in the presence of it. Part 2. Understanding the table. The table has rules, just not the ones printed on the box. Once you can read behavior instead of words, a second, deeper shift becomes possible. You begin to understand what is actually driving the behavior, and why the same person can act very differently depending on the situation they are in. Machiavelli's answer is among his most difficult to receive. Everyone operates from self-interest. Not sometimes, not usually, always. And he is careful to clarify that this is not a moral failure. It is a structural feature of how humans are built. Even the most generous behavior, the act of sacrifice, the gift freely given, the loyalty maintained at personal cost, contains an element of self-interest. Whether it is the feeling of being a good person, the social reputation of being trustworthy, the private satisfaction of having acted according to one's values. This does not make the behavior less genuine. It means that self-interest is a broader category than most people assume. The important practical consequence is this: if you can understand what someone's self-interest actually is, not what they say it is, but what their behavior consistently prioritizes, you can predict what they will do. This is not manipulation. It is the ability to read the table. The second understanding that comes with this shift is about fairness. The world, Machiavelli observed, does not reliably reward merit. It rewards leverage, timing, and position. The person who works hardest is not automatically the person who advances. The person who is most capable is not automatically the person who leads. The person who is most deserving, by whatever metric you apply, is not automatically the person who receives. And treating fairness as a governing principle of how the world operates, waiting for merit to be recognized, expecting loyalty to be rewarded, assuming that effort will eventually speak for itself, is operating on a false assumption about the rules of the table. I want to be precise here about what this does and does not mean. It does not mean that effort and merit are irrelevant. It does not mean that integrity is a liability. It means that effort and merit are necessary but not sufficient. They are the cards you need to be in the game. They are not by themselves the strategy that wins it. The person who understands this stops waiting for recognition that may never arrive under the current conditions and starts thinking about what else is required. Visibility, relationships, timing, positioning, not instead of competence, in addition to it. This is what most readings of Machiavelli consistently miss. He is not telling you to abandon integrity and become ruthless. He is telling you to stop pretending that integrity alone is a strategy in a world where others are also playing relationships, timing, and positioning. The person who refuses to think about these things is not morally superior. They are simply less informed about the actual rules of the table they are sitting at. Machiavelli was deeply concerned with what sustained good governance over time, what kept republics functioning and princes legitimate. His conclusion was that the ruler who understood power accurately was more likely to use it well than the ruler who operated from comfortable illusions about how it worked. Clarity was not a concession to cynicism. It was the precondition for doing anything genuinely useful. You cannot design a system that serves people well if you do not understand the mechanisms by which systems actually function, including the mechanisms by which they fail. If this kind of thinking is useful to you, the ideas that don't get softened, the ones that actually ask something of you, subscribe to Wise Daily. That's what we're here for. Understanding the table does not make you paranoid about it. It makes you competent within it. The skeleton in the thumbnail is not nervous. They are playing with full information. That is what Machiavellian clarity actually produces. Part 3. Seeing the players. There is a third shift that becomes available once you can read behavior and understand the table. You begin to see the people at it, not as they present themselves, but as the patterns of their conduct reveal them to be. And this is where Machiavelli's thinking is most frequently misread. The popular version of this shift is paranoid. Everyone around you is a potential enemy. Your friends are secretly competing with you. Trust is a vulnerability, and the correct response is to treat all relationships as strategic rather than genuine. This is not what Machiavelli argued. It is what a certain kind of insecure reader takes from him, and it produces a quality of life and relationship that Machiavelli himself, who had deep and enduring friendships, a rich intellectual correspondence, and a genuine love for Florence, would not have recognized as wisdom. What Machiavelli actually argued is more precise. He argued that trust should be calibrated to evidence, not extended automatically. That proximity does not create loyalty, shared interest does. That the people closest to you are the people with the most information about you. And whether that information is an asset or a liability depends entirely on whether their interests are genuinely aligned with yours. This is a very different claim from your friends are your enemies. It is a claim about the importance of reading people accurately over time, watching whether their behavior in low-stakes situations predicts their behavior in high-stakes ones, whether they support you when it costs them something as well as when it costs them nothing, whether their words about you match what you observe them doing when you are not the audience. He who deceives, Machiavelli wrote, will always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. The vulnerability he is identifying is not the person who trusts. It is the person who extends trust without evidence, who trusts on the basis of what someone says about themselves or how they present in the initial stages of a relationship, rather than on the basis of accumulated behavioral evidence. The person who reads the player rather than the performance is not suspicious. They are accurate. Let me say something here directly, because the shift in this section carries a specific risk. The framework of self-interest and strategic relationships, applied without the counterweight of genuine care, produces a kind of intelligent loneliness. A person who can see the mechanism of every interaction, but cannot participate fully in any of them, because they are always also observing them. I have watched this happen to people who absorb Machiavelli as a permission structure for emotional detachment. They became very good at reading people and almost incapable of being close to them. That is not the goal, and it is not what Machiavelli was recommending. The skill is in reading people accurately while remaining genuinely engaged with them, in seeing the self-interest that underlies even the most sincere relationships, while also understanding that self-interest and genuine care are not mutually exclusive, in holding both truths, that people are operating from their own interests, and that some of those people's interests genuinely include your well-being, and using that dual awareness to build relationships that are both clear-eyed and warm. This is harder than either the naive approach or the paranoid one. It requires you to remain present and open while also reading clearly. But it is the only approach that produces both accuracy and genuine connection. The naive person is not surprised by betrayal because they did not see it coming. The paranoid person is not surprised by betrayal because they expected it from everyone. The clear-eyed person is not surprised by betrayal because they read the pattern before it completed. Only the third person retains the capacity for genuine trust because their trust is based on evidence, and evidence-based trust is the only kind that actually means something. Part 4. Picking up your hand. There is a particular quality that Machiavelli described in his ideal prince, and it is not ruthlessness. It is what he called virtù, which is usually translated as virtue, but which Machiavelli meant in an older sense. The capacity to act decisively and effectively in whatever situation presents itself. The capacity to read the game clearly and then choose deliberately how to play. The person who has not picked up their hand is not neutral. They are simply playing without knowing their cards. Other people at the table can see the value of the cards they are holding, even if they cannot. And in any game, being the only person at the table who does not know what you are holding is the worst possible position. This is what Machiavelli meant when he wrote that you must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. The fox sees the game. The lion has the confidence to play it. You need both. Seeing the game and refusing to engage with it on grounds of principle or authenticity, or a belief that participating in the game makes you complicit in its worst elements, is not a moral position. It is a passivity that simply transfers the decisions to everyone else at the table. Picking up your hand does not mean becoming manipulative or abandoning integrity or treating every interaction as a competition. It means becoming intentional. It means understanding the difference between being reactive, letting circumstances and other people's moves determine your position, and being deliberate, making considered choices about how you engage, what you prioritize, and what kind of player you want to be in the specific games you are actually in. The clearest expression of this is in Machiavelli's analysis of fortune. He argued that fortune is like a violent river that floods and destroys when there are no embankments to contain it. But when people have prepared in quieter times, the damage is far less. You cannot control fortune, but you can build the embankments And the person who has done that work, who has developed their clarity, built relationships on evidence, understood the real rules, and decided deliberately how to play, is in a fundamentally different position when the river rises. The thumbnail for this script shows a skeleton in a pinstripe suit, playing cards at a bar completely relaxed. Cigar, whiskey, cards fanned in one hand, not tense, not scanning the room, not performing confidence for anyone else's benefit, simply playing, with full information, with ease, in no hurry, because there is nothing to be anxious about when you can read the game. That quality of ease is what Machiavellian clarity actually produces. Not the hypervigilant suspicion of the paranoid realist, not the wounded confusion of the naive idealist. The calm competence of the person who sees clearly, plays deliberately, and has long since stopped being surprised by the things that other people find bewildering. The person who sees clearly is not the most suspicious person in the room. They are the calmest. Most of us were given an account of the world designed to make us cooperative rather than clear-eyed. We were taught that words are honest, that merit is rewarded, that the rules apply equally. These are not lies exactly. They are approximations, true enough in some contexts, false enough in others to cause serious damage when applied universally. Machiavelli did not give us permission to be selfish or ruthless. He gave us something more valuable, an accurate picture of the game, one that, once you hold it, does not make you dark or dangerous or isolated. It makes you clear. The person who sees clearly is not the most suspicious person in the room. They are the calmest. Where in your life have you been playing without knowing your cards? If that question landed, type "I see the game" in the comments, not for me, but for you. And if this video gave you something real, please like it, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to Wise Daily. Every video on this channel is built to give you one thing: the philosophical tools to live with more power, more clarity, and more intention. We'll see you in the next one. Machiavelli showed us how to read the game we are already in. But there is a philosopher who asked a harder question. Once you see the game clearly, what do you owe to the people playing alongside you? What does the person who sees clearly do differently, not just strategically, but morally? That philosopher is Marcus Aurelius. And the answer he gave in the meditations written at the edge of an empire he did not ask to inherit is the subject of our next video.